All right, so like, I just got off of playing Echoes. That game is a weird little piece of work. You guys might be wondering, Squidee, where's the new fucking FE4 video promised? Where is it? I've been doing other shit like, playing video games, like Night Rain. Anyways, there's a new Fire Emblem game. Let's talk about this because we're gonna have another 6 years of discourse. I hope you guys are all excited. I hope you guys are very excited for this. I just realized I'm gonna have my magnifier. So this game, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, it looks like it's gonna be taking like a Greco-Roman setting, which will be really interesting to see how that goes. A few things I've noticed immediately from this is it should be pretty plain obvious that this is made by, if not the same team that did Fire Emblem Three Houses, so that's going to be the Koei Tecmo team. Nothing against them. I know a lot of people are purists, and it's like, why isn't Intelligent Systems making this new game? But they did a good job with it. The new artwork, in my brain previously, this didn't register as Fire Emblem. I don't know why. But here, let's just go back real quick, because this video is going to have absolutely zero editing. We're just going to be talking out of my ass. So there is speculation as if these are going to be 4 new lords. These 4 fine ladies and gents. I don't know why I keep getting the frame of them when they're black. Namely Alucard over here with his very relic weapon looking weapon from Three Houses. And then this woman who the internet's already going crazy for. I can't blame them, to be honest. And we've got frickin' Hades looking character over here. So just from my initial impressions, this seems that this is going to be a game more about the skirmishes. Little aside, this fucking screenshot right here, like when I saw this, I'm like, bro, this shit look like Monster Hunter. This shit don't look like Fire Emblem. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too old-headed with the games I play that it's like, this isn't Fire Emblem to me. The Fire Emblem series died 10 years ago. No, it didn't. You just didn't like the most recent game. Yes, I didn't. Engage was not good. And Engage had good gameplay, but it didn't have good story. And if you don't have one without the other, it's not a good game. Anyways, we're getting overworld shit, like Engage. By the way, I'd like to mention that this game runs at... Give me a moment. How do I get stats for nerds again? This game runs at, even though this content is being streamed to us in 1080 60, this game runs at 30. Watch. I'm gonna go frame by frame. If you listen to the strokes of the key, it's going on every 2 frames. So, hopefully this game will get a performance mode. I'm not super picky about like the game needing to run at 60 or the game needing to run at 30. I just find it a little silly that we're getting this much performance out of the Switch 2. And I'm just looking at this right now. Can we get the magnifier? No, we cannot. That's awesome. Let me pull it up. Oh my god. So if we're looking at this right now, there aren't really many like contact shadows to be going on. Maybe this game just has maybe this game just doesn't use ambient occlusion, period. I mean, there is some around this area, if you guys can see. And then down here, oh, holy shit, look at that dithering. Ooh-wee. It might just be YouTube compression, I don't know. But this game, it does look like it has anti-aliasing. This looks like FSR. Like, these lines, these look kind of AI FSR-ish. They're probably using some to help crank the performance out of this game, but looking at the textures, it's like, I really question why they're going for 30, unless they're just trying to keep the model fidelity as high as they can, which, I mean, that's commendable, but here, go away. Go away, magnifier. I don't need you right now. So anyways, back to...
Save my father's life.
Here, let me rewind that so for the people in the back that can hear that.
I only want to fight so I can save my father's life.
Who's gonna tell him? If this guy's a Fire Emblem Pro tag, who's gonna tell him? That's not gonna end well. Okay, now let's get into gameplay. Let's finally get into some gameplay, because we're gonna be looking at this like insanely. So there's quite a few things I noticed when this game was running. First off, they're showing it in an isometric perspective, which I think is disgusting, and I think that's an insult to the Fire Emblem series as a whole. That's just how I roll. But there's a few things. Notably, we have the mini-map in the top right. That's a different spot. The terrain effects are in the bottom left, which I don't think we've done previously. The UI in general just looks really nice. There are a few new stats, namely, here, let me expand this real quick. PRT and RSL. So I'm assuming that's protection and resilience. So protection is probably physical defense, and then resilience is magic defense or any form of animus defense. I don't know why they're renaming them, especially given that they've been defense and resistance for as long as I can fucking remember. However, there's also a possibility that there are additional stat modifiers that they're putting on top that create a unit's overall defensive rating. Also, one thing I'd like to note, this might be... Holy shit, this is actually... unless YouTube's just using AI compression or some shit, this... I can't fucking... Why does it look so weird upscale? It looks like a fucking AI compression algorithm. Anyways, regardless. So we've got our first gentleman here. This is Kai, by the way. Everyone say hi, Kai. One thing I'd like to point out as well is that he's using a bronze spear, but it's not a spear that you'd conventionally see in Fire Emblem. This is, I think, supposed to have the same usage as a lance. Over here, of course, it's only being able to attack at 1 range rather than 2 range. So that's pretty interesting, all things considered, that we are changing up the terminology a little bit. It seems that they are trying to reduce the amount of menus you're going to sort through, so it looks like they're going to be using more context-sensitive actions. There's a few other things up here. There's this, which I'm pretty sure is his class icon for being the Flying Ornus Rider, which is basically just a fucking chicken jockey. He's got pretty good hit rate, physical attack of 29, but let's move a few frames forward because this is where it gets interesting. So I'd like to rewind a little bit because there's a few gentlemen over here that I think y'all might want to see. One thing, this game so far looks very ethnically diverse, which is kind of a first for a Fire Emblem game. Usually we kind of have white guy number 1, white guy number 2, white woman number 3, and unfortunately a lot of darker skinned characters usually aren't taken all that seriously in this series. I think the best example is Devdin, who is one of the only black guys in the Telia series, and he's just kind of treated like a complete joke. Hopefully we'll see some more diversity. I'm not someone who's trying to push for diversity. I would just like to see everyone treated equally and treated with respect in my funny dating sim franchise. So you've got this lass. This is a girl wearing a dress. Here I am talking about diversity and immediately assuming someone's gender. So we got mage units. We've got what I believe to be monks, because this is another female unit. She does have purple eyes, which I would like to point out, which may tie her in to the bloodline of... what's Edelgard's? My terrible typing on... She might be a part of her bloodline as well, given how important colors are in the Fire Emblem series. That's the question of determining, since this game, if we see later on in the trailer, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to skip to the end so I can show you. We'll jump back a little bit. Hi, Sothis. What's up? So this is very clearly in the same continuity as Three Houses. The question is it before or is it after Three Houses? So it's going to be really interesting to see where that plays out. Anyways, let's point out some of the other characters, because there were some pretty cool dudes in here. Some little goobers. There's this woman. She looks cool. There's this guy. I'm assuming this is like a fighter, Myrmidon, or something else. I would assume it's... if I could guess, maybe it is an equivalent, just looking at the design, It could be a mercenary, but we also have a little Alucard over here who's basically a mercenary. One thing I do suspect is that they're going to be making some form of subclass that is focuses on lower hit rates for sword users, but hits harder and is generally bulkier with maybe a higher resistance to boot, and is probably a bit slower. So kind of like an armored unit, but less like an armored unit. Anyway, there's this lass. We saw her previously. She was the girl from here. Kind of silly seeing people with classes in the Fire Emblem world. We've got this little boy over here. He's an archer unit. We got Alucard over here, who I'm pretty sure is one of the 4 lords in the game. And we've got another old dude. I think this is another black mage. I don't know if she's a white mage. So she might be a white mage. He might be a... Oh my god, YouTube frame by frame is awful. She might be a cleric of some kind? I don't know. But there's also the potential that this game just has free classing, like 3 houses, which I highly suspect it does. Unless they are going to be more railroaded into certain classes. I personally prefer that because I like working within limitations rather than being able to do whatever the fuck I want in most games. And then we also have this unit. It's called a charioteer apparently. Now let's move forward a little bit. So, a few things to notice is that this is obviously a lord. He has access to the convoy. But there's 2 new things: blaze arts and combat arts. So from when I was reading this and what I was hearing other people say, from what I understand, I believe blaze arts expend HP and are similar to what we had in Echoes, and combat arts expend durability, and those are what we had in 3 houses. I may be wrong on that. We're going to correct ourselves later in the video because I've only watched this maybe 8 times and I didn't take any notes. So moving forward into the actual combat screen, the combat forecast, it's very similar to the one we had. Go away. Go fucking. Okay. So it's very similar to the one we had in Engage, just without the 3D previews. I very much prefer having these 2D models. They look a lot better, especially with how fucking ugly the Engage models looked when their jaws opened. So it actually breaks down the exact damage that's done per turn, which I think is pretty cool. His crit rate is 44, which is kind of absurd, especially for this looks like early game. It's a charioteer unit with a bronze bow, and they're of an affiliation known as the Thundercloud Knights. We'll have to see what that is about. And someone pointed this out on Reddit. I would like to thank can't look at your profile, Otovakar. These are the crests of Aben and the crests of Lamine, which are... I'm trying to remember if these even had crests in the game. It's been so while since I played this game. Yeah, so the crest of Lamine is the crest that Mercedes and Jaritza had. So this is basically confirmed to be in the same continuity as 3 houses. And then the Lamine crest, which... Wait, no, it was the Aben crest. Which that means... That's interesting, because that basically means Kai is a descendant, or Yuri is a descendant of Kai in some capacity. Whether it's through hundreds of years, through thousands of years, maybe this is just straight up like a Gaiden thing, where it's just on a different continent. We don't know yet. But going back to the combat screen, we've got a few options. Now you actually are picking your weapons using just the shoulder buttons and the triggers, rather than going through the selecting your target, selecting your weapon, and then hitting attack. It's nice. I think it looks nice overall. The use of motion blur is kind of egregious. And of course he crit, so there's that as well. Are these... Now it's got me thinking. Hold up. Okay, no. So this... You want to know how I know this doesn't take place in Fodlan? Not because of this establishing shot, this one, but it was actually because these horses don't have the fucking bunny ears that the Fodlan horses have, so this is clearly in a different continent. I rest my case. Moving forward a little bit, there's some cutscene.
What I seek is a great
Shite.
strength.
There's this
An
last.
unyielding strength for any foe. Sheer strength to uphold the faith I hold dear.
Okay. On one hand, what's her name? Theodora. She looks really cool and she looks really awesome. But at the same time, she kind of looks a lot like the fucking units in Heroes. She looks like them, and I'm not... Alright, let's see. Is porn gonna show up? Nope. Yay! Okay. They're kind of designed like this. And I don't know. Maybe it's just my bad experience with Heroes that has left a bad taste in my mouth about that. But... Holy shit, my spelling's terrible. I don't know. Anyways, a few other things to notice on this. There are merms on the other team. There is authority ranking. That is expected. Another support unit. I don't know what this guy's name is, but he's probably pretty cool. Then there's this guy. There's a lot of older units on Theodora's side, which I think is pretty interesting. One thing I'd also like to point out as well. So she's got this spear. I'm assuming this is like a character-specific spear, but she's using a sword combat art. I think if we move forward a little bit, we should be seeing what this combat art actually does. Hopefully they don't fucking cut
Above all.
the gameplay. So here we go. Disturbing strike. Disturbing strike. If the attack hits, inflicts immobilize on foes. So, wait, hold up. That was a fucking gambit. So the gambits are maintaining their weapon attribute types from Three Houses. I'm pretty sure. 2 uses of that gambit. I'm assuming that's what you were able to pick, given the circular icon on the previous screen, if we go back to the combat forecast. Yeah, you probably are able to pick a gambit here. Which, yeah, I mean, gambits are fine. I think they were pretty funny. Like, I think Stride was a really funny gambit. That should never come back. Oh yeah, and then you have these guys. So you've got this gentleman. He looks pretty cool. This guy, and then this guy. So, yeah, we'll see who these units are. Okay, so Theodora is a noble. I don't remember. Does she have a crest? No, that's just her class. But she does have this effect. So, unless this is... Alright, here we go, because I don't remember how this game works. Because this looks familiar. I would very much not assume it's Hunter's Law. She's not adjacent to any units. I would assume this is some type of ability that's applied when the unit either initiates combat or the unit is at full HP. 0% crit rate. That's very surprising given the fucking crit rates we were seeing previously. Also, come to think of it, how big are these maps? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 16, 17. So, like 17 by 30-ish, maybe? They're not going to be genealogy big. These maps definitely look a lot smaller compared to what they were previously. Especially, well, Engage's maps, they were kind of big, but they weren't that big. There's a lot of terrain in this, which I forgot to point out. I think this is going to be a game where there's going to be a lot of enemy units. You're not going to have as many player units. You're going to be thrown into a very confined space, and you're going to have to use all the terrain you can get, everything you can make to make defensive walls, and this is probably going to be a very... I would imagine these type of arena skirmishes are going to be very enemy phase focused, and they're going to be focusing a lot more on making a strong defense while you slowly whittle away at the enemies. Meanwhile, with these more open maps, this looks more player phase focused. This just looks like go around, fuck shit up. Which
Strength enough for
I am not going to say which one I prefer. And then you have Alucard over here, Aura farming. His actual
It is
name...
imperative that
Game. Okay, we've got, what's his name over here? Dietrich. He's going to be referred to as Alucard for the rest of this video. We got a few people over here. We've got this lass. She looks like a Pegasus. She looks like she would promote to a Pegasus Knight, given that color. Another authority ranking. One thing I would also like to point out that this is very interesting. Dietrich, or by extension Myrmidons, appear to have the ability to hop over terrain. Which, this is the first in the series. Well, not the first, but in terms of being able to vault over small terrain like this, we haven't seen this since Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn, where you were able to climb up certain terrain with foot units, and that gave them like a huge advantage on some of the more vertical maps. You can tell I'm running out of breath. Oh my god. Also, there is weather in this game. I don't know how it affects hit rates. I don't know how it affects how combat works. Maybe during a lightning storm, lightning gets a damage boost. But also, Dietrich can just fucking do that. So... Oh, excuse me, sorry. I just noticed his level. Holy shit. This is definitely a tutorial fight. Like, there's no fucking way they're gonna give someone a unit with that much. But is this might be some kind of ability. Let's see. I'm really milking the shit out of this video. Okay. Oh, so it's a blaze art. So I'm assuming these are like game-changing personal skills. So redact everything I just said for the past 3 minutes because I'm not going to edit this video. This is interesting. So blaze arts are probably some form of like personal skill or learned skill. So being able to do shit like this where you can clip through walls. Depending on how you can equip them on a per character basis, this will be really interesting to see how this plays out. Especially with a character like Dietrich, which I would also like to point out if we can get to the combat preview.
I must come.
I'm assuming this is a different... What we were probably seeing with Kai was like the modern attack screen, and this is like the classic attack screen. So this is the way you can like... Did he pick the target first?
I must cull it.
Pick weapon, pick target, yeah.
That I face it again.
Okay, anyways. There we go. Here's her face if you want to see it. Here's his face if you want to see it. Here's his face if you want to see it. So at the very least, we're going to be able to... He was in the previous footage. Well, no, he was. So at the very least, you're going to be able to swap some of these units around between the lords, which will be interesting to see.
I must
pull
cull
up that footage. Okay. Iron Sword's back. Levin Sword's back. That's awesome. Flissa? Interesting. Durability is confirmed back, but... Yeah, that crit rate's insane. There's this new thing called Curse. I don't know if that means there are going to be more weapons that work similar to, like, the Hex Sword in Echoes or the Devil Axe. I think that'd be really cool. The fact that he only needs an E rank in swords to use his weapon is kind of insane, given how disgusting this looks. I mean, it is a one-range weapon, but still, this looks disgusting. Okay. Hello, Crest. Look at that. Sword +5, sword fair, I think. Let's look. I think it's sword prowess. And he might have Paragon, which I already suspect that this guy... Yep, this is Letta, by the way. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut about that. Anyways, Crest. So he's at least related to Mercedes and Jaritza in some way, but given this face, he defo is. I would assume this is something to do with the Blaze Arts. It might be some kind of meter that has to fill on a per round or per turn basis, and that's how you actually are able to like power up and get this special hit state. Well, I mean, getting these special arts like the teleport shit. How much HP does this guy have?
With this.
Okay, so he exchanges blows for 27 and for 32. Damn, bro, he's at 11 HP. You're killing him. Yeah, Answerer looks like it's going to be a disgusting early game weapon. But this is early and mid game, assuming. And then I'm pretty sure that was a crit. It wasn't a bloodline card.
There's a man I hate so much that simply killing him will not
And then
satisfy me.
Leda, internet's going crazy over her already. But I mean, look at her. She's gorgeous. Look at that. We also have the bushes. Great to see the bushes. Okay, this is the other thing I wanted to talk about is, so there are these units over here that are afflicted with like this purple energy, and there's this thing as well, how her gauge is all the way red. And there's this. So I have a lurking suspicion that this is going to work similarly to a mix between the biorhythm and the Laguz gauge from the Teleus games, where these special, was it just for these units? But for these units, how they have to manage this gauge, or they go into some kind of berserk state. So maybe you can expend this by using your Blaze Arts. But if you do not expend it, it will keep building up, and then your like hit rate goes down, or maybe you take more damage, or maybe your damage even goes up. That'd be interesting. I don't know. It's another meter to manage. It'll be cool to see. She's apparently a hunter, even though she dresses like a dancer, with all that jewelry and shit. She does not have a crest, I believe. Let me look. But this is the thing that's interesting. So the Blaze Arts require not only this meter, but they also require HP, much like what we had with Echoes' combat arts. So I'm assuming Blaze Arts is going to be a way that it can be, it's probably some kind of combat art that can be replenished mid-fight and is managed through something like taking damage, landing certain types of attacks, or just letting time pass by. Either way, this is going to be a really interesting shake-up to the formula, and especially for this enraged state, I do wonder what it is actually going to be about. I'd also like to point out that this this Song of Beasts thingy, this summons a 2x2, so we're getting the multi-health bar bosses back from Three Houses. If you didn't like them, boo-hoo. If you did like them, welcome back.
For that reason, I refuse to die.
And she's also got the guitar.
I won't let you hurt her!
Oh yeah, hello Crest. Can I get it? Yeah, so we've got boy with magical powers. Hopefully he's not a mage unit. We do not need another Robin. Please. Pretty please. Let's move forward a little bit. Fucking Alucard aura farming again. Just clank her out my window, trying to get into somebody's apartment. Anyways,
A warm blood is served.
this is the thing that really... Okay, I don't know if any of you noticed this. I'll let this image speak for itself. I have no objections to it. The last time we had this was in Heroes, but even then it wasn't actually like a fucking gun. And we just have like the little clerics like pulling around with these fucking handguns with a laser sight and an extended magazine. Nah, this is not my Fire Emblem. We've got fucking Alucard over here in Malekith's black plate armor versus little priestess lady with a freaking... I can't. I don't know. This game is going to be very silly. Which, speaking of which, gun does things. So, this might be a new weapon type, but she's parrying, she's deflecting shit with the gun. I don't get it. I don't know why she's pistol whipping against a literal relic weapon that could probably split her in half.
You think?
Unless it's meant to be, if you guys saw that, not that. It makes this little after image streak, so it might work more akin to a whip, where they pull the trigger and it like extends a bit of magic, goo, or whatever, and you like swing it around. That'd be kind of cool.
You think I?
And then you got. I'm not even gonna talk about it. I was mostly gonna talk about the gameplay. If we have any more going forward, no, we do not.
Let you deny me my feelings?
So,
I refuse to accept defeat. Not now!
For those who stand upon the final stage,
overall,
I shall grant whatever wish you may desire. So say I, the divine sovereign, that I vow to you.
this game, Fortune's Weave, looks like it's going to be pretty interesting, all things considered. Especially considering that this is in the same continuity as Three Houses. Is it a distant sequel? Is it a distant prequel? Is it a side story? Who knows? We're not going to know until we get more gameplay. So far, I was very apprehensive about this at first, especially given that this was the last reveal during the Direct, and a whole lot of snooze fest towards the end, but that's expected for a Nintendo Direct. But overall, I've begun to appreciate this a lot more, and I think that this has potential to be a game that's a good shakeup for the franchise. I don't know if it's going to be good. I don't know if it's going to be mid. I don't know if it's going to be terrible. But we're just going to have to wait and see. So, yeah, that's all I really have for right now. I'm probably going to go cough up a lung after letting my mouth run like that.